just feel like we are so lucky. I'd like to take a few minutes just to quickly introduce our three parents who are going to come up and share their experience. We have Amber Harris, Kimberly Martin, and Karen Hansen, and they're going to come up and share how they've integrated the 9 core values into their families.
Okay, I haven't spoken public in a really long time, so forgive me. That was great, and actually it kind of made me want to throw out a lot of what I thought I was going to say, and I'm encouraged by my husband to sort of be authentic in this way, that I'm going to share something that seems a little random, but because I think it's important. Some of you might have heard me on the radio sometimes because I'm very passionate about this school, and I call myself a cheerleader for it, and I'm serious about that. And I think the reason that is because I came from a background that was like Mrs. Foreman's student who's having trouble right now. I was in and out of foster care. My parents were addicted. Everything that comes with that was what my life was. It was the antithesis of what we strive for at this school. And I think the reason I bring that up, and why he encouraged me to bring that up, is because my life, the life I've created for myself and for my children, and in my marriage and with my wonderful husband, hi camera, is, you know what, it's not easy to come out of that life. Like what you told her, I love what you say to your students because it's not easy, but it's not impossible. And that's the reason I love this school. I see what we strive for here maybe in a different way. I feel in a way that I'm blessed that I came from this background where all around me were people without hope and people who did not believe that they had excellence within them. And people who, they didn't have public and private virtue. And so then they had no honor, and then they felt worthless, and then they lived down to what they felt they were. And that's the fact. That's the way that it is in the world. And after growing up and putting myself through college, I became a social worker so that I could go back to those kids and try to show them, look, there is a way out. And what I met there in that environment was a whole lot of don't get their hopes up. Like, why are you telling them these things? It's not that easy. And I have what psychologists call a high need for independence. So I'm a little fiery sometimes. And my reaction to that was always, don't tell me what's impossible. Like, you have no idea what I've come from. Don't tell me what's impossible, and how dare you tell these children that they can't have more than what their parents are offering them. Because they can't. They absolutely can't. And when I come to this school, what I feel, my daughter has changed, and my daughter's a wonderful little girl. She's wonderful. But her attitude about learning and about herself, because she has some learning difficulties, whereas her brother, Wyatt, everything's easy for Wyatt. It's just, that's the way it is for him. And I watched her attitude go down about herself, and I'm sort of obsessed with the idea of making sure that my children have a completely different reality and life and future than what I had. I mean, I feel like that's my purpose. That is absolutely my purpose. And when I saw that attitude start to grow in her, that she wasn't very smart or she couldn't do things very good, I was going to pull her out of school and homeschool her because I knew I can do better than this. And it's not just about the learning, it's about the spirit of what you're instilling in them, that they believe they can do something. And somebody said something about divine intervention earlier, and I just have to believe that's what brought me to this school. We came a little late last year. There happened to be an opening for her. I didn't think there was going to be an opening for Wyatt, but I thought, I'm going to do this, I'm going to put her there, and hopefully I'm just going to believe that it's going to work out. And when I came to turn in her paperwork, Lindsay told me, you know what, there's one opening in 5th grade, do you want it? And I was so excited, and we hopped on it. And as soon as I came in, just like Mrs. Brophy said earlier, when I came onto this campus, I felt that feeling that you're talking about. And I felt that there was something different here. And the more I learned about the core values, the more I learned about the attitude and the respect that is taught here for life, the idea that you have something to contribute. You know what? I came from people and I worked with people who that was a completely foreign idea to them. And there's too many people out in the world who think that that idea is idealistic, and it's not. And what I love about what happens at John Adams and how we work it in with our family is that I don't have to undo nonsense when they come home. Instead, they come home to me and they say, you know what? Mrs. Foreman said this and this and this today, and that's exactly what you say, Mom. Or like, I was thinking of it this way. Or they're excited. And my daughter, she came into the school. She got really lucky and had Mrs. Steincliffe last year. I don't know who knows her. I mean, who has any children in her class, but she's amazing. And this year too, she has Mrs. Mitchell, and she comes home she went to summer school. No problem doing that. She was happy to do it because she has a standard for herself now. Here she is, this little child. She's in 3rd grade. And she believes she can do better, and even if she's not perfect, she feels good internally because she's trying, and that's what's expected of her at this school. And her good qualities, her smart mind, the way she's able to say what she thinks about things, that offsets the things that maybe she's struggling with. When she comes home from school, we do homework sometimes for a couple hours, and she does not complain. She sits there with me and she does that homework, and this time her report card was surprisingly good, and she was proud of herself. And the school helps me know that my husband and I have broken a cycle, and this is almost a personal testimony, really, because like I said, it's not easy to do that, but I believe that your student can do that. And partly it's because she has people like you in her life, and I believe that my children are going to never go back and completely break the family history that I come from, and they're going to do amazing things in the world. And part of that is because we're partnered with this school, and because this school supports what I'm so passionate about. And that's making sure that they know their life has meaning and purpose, and that they're giving. And I'm thankful for it every day. Every day.
So thankful. I had to laugh because I thought to myself, if this is what gets me by hanging out with the PSO president, then maybe maybe I ought to choose my friends a little bit more wisely. I am actually very grateful that Karen gave me the opportunity to come and talk to you this evening and share with you some of the 9 core values that we try to implement in our home. In my attempt to share some of the things that I do want to share with you, I am in no form or fashion wanting to have a brag fest up here on my children, but my children are all I know. I know many of your children, but as far as the 9 core values with my children, I do have to say that the things that are being taught here and the things that we in our home have taken these 9 core values so seriously. We know that these were not something that were created in a day, an afternoon, an evening. They were pondered and well thought out, as well as our mission statement. So when we first came to this school, I did sit and study those 9 core values, and I thought, like Mrs. Foreman said, there's a lot of those that I already hold so true in my heart and we emphasize in our home. But what can I do to pick out some of those values to kind of inspire my own children? And in doing so, I have to brag on my children, and that's what I have to do. So I have to share some insights and some occasions with you. It was last year. It was our first year here at John Adams, which we were truly grateful to be here. And my oldest son, we live by a retirement center. We drive by this retirement home daily. So it was something that was probably fresh in his mind. But one day we came home, and it was on a Friday afternoon, and he said, you know, Mom, I think I would like to go over and volunteer at the retirement home. And I thought to myself, I think that's very noble. I think that's very, very good of you. He said, you know, we're taught to model what we teach. And I see in our schools people serving all day. And I want to go, and I want to find a way that I can serve. So he took it upon himself to go over to this Sunrise Retirement Center and meet with the volunteer director, fill out his own paperwork. He had to be interviewed. He had to be, you know, cleared, basically. They don't just want anybody in and out of the retirement home. to much of my surprise, I thought they would just love to have anybody and everybody, just bring it on, but that's not the case. But he met with the director, and she welcomed him in and said, yes, please come. We would love to have you. And he said, I get out early every Friday in our school, and so I would like to take those hours I would be in school, and I would like to come and volunteer every Friday. And she said, no problem. So with that, I was actually very proud of him, and I tried to search and I tried to think, is that a public and private virtue? Is he making decisions based on not what people really, he's not expecting to be patted on the back. He's not expecting anything. He did this on his own. And I likened it to being here at John Adams Academy. And in doing so, every Friday, he went over there and called bingo for those sweet, 12 or 15 that would show up during bingo time. And in doing that, inspired his younger sister, who now goes over for Wii on Wednesday and plays bowling and tennis with the seniors. So that is a moment that I was very proud of them. As I would go over there and pick them up, I'd have to stay with my 7-year-old, but Nicholas would go on his own and he would walk, but I would go over and get him. He was over there doing what was implemented here at John Adams and at home. And we serve. My husband and I try very hard to serve the community, serve our school, and make a difference. And that's what I want them to do. And so with that, I was very proud of him. In our home, we have what we call family council. Usually we call it lockdown, whatever. We lock them down. They have to sit and listen to us for a certain amount of time. But in that time that we have together, we usually have a moment where we discuss things like Ms. Gorman's conversation with Nicholas. And we have an opportunity for them to share with us what's happened that week, what some of the things that they're concerned. So again, I liken it back to my core values. I model what I teach. I want them to listen to me, and I want them to respect me. I want to give them the same respect, and I want to hear what they have to say, what their concerns are, what their thoughts are, what's going on with the day, what goals do they want to set for themselves. And in that conversation is when Nicholas brought up, oh man, Mom, you're never going to believe this. I said, well, what? Mrs. Gorman's a Democrat. And I am not kidding. I mean, seriously. It was the most comical thing, but yet very serious to him. But his dad and I were like, oh my gosh, what have we done? It was a learning moment for us. And again, we had to be taught by our son, who then we took the whole evening, and it was so amazing because we have a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then we have Nicholas. And they all sat there very intently listening to us explain to him that there are people that have different opinions. We have to agree to disagree. We have to understand where people are coming from. And then he shared with us their conversation. And I was so proud of him for being able to listen to Mrs. Gorman and respect what she has to say, and maybe take a little bit of that and give him something to ponder and think upon, because they're young right now. They're going to listen, hopefully, for what we tell them and how we feel and how we present our beliefs and feelings. But I love the fact that here at John Adams Academy we have the ability to have those conversations and them go well. So another thing that we do during family council is to set a goal for themselves for that week. And it's not always great. It could be something little, but like the teachers, I'm sure that you want them to try to achieve greatness, and so we try to have them pick one thing. Recently, my son was asked to give like a little 2-minute talk in our church, and just for example, his goal was, I want to do it like the big people do it. I want to memorize it. I don't want to read it, Mom. And that was his goal.